What up, people of the internet? It is your boy Split to the Plug here, back with another video. And I feel kind of bad because I'm coming to you guys with another kind of video that is very different. This is unfiltered Split to the Plug. This is, what do we call it? This is off the script Split to the Plug. Here, coming to you guys with a very different type of video. You see, I found myself in a bit of a conundrum where I was working on videos for you guys, the people watching this video. I was working on like 3 or 4 of them at a time, and because I'm a perfectionist, I keep extending my own personal deadline on those videos. So the video you're seeing now isn't the video I've been working on. That video will actually be out sometime later this week, if not this weekend, late as next week. But it is on the way, and I'm working on like 3 or 4 at a time. So I've been kind of just engulfed in that, making sure that's the best video it can be before it comes out. If you guys watched the last video, you know which video I'm working on, but I won't say which ones because I'll keep it a surprise for those who want to stay tuned. But this video, if you guys couldn't tell by the controversial title, or maybe not so controversial title, or just the gameplay in the background, I really want to talk about Mortal Kombat, specifically Mortal Kombat 1, because Mortal Kombat 1 is easily the best, worst game of all time, apparently. So, if you guys don't know, I've been playing Mortal Kombat 1 so much recently. I actually have, I think, over 200 hours dedicated into the game. I know, it's not maybe compared to some pro players' numbers, but, you know, I give the game a lot of time, and I really enjoy. I've loved the Mortal Kombat series for so long. And because I have a huge Mortal Kombat 1 video planned that'll drop sometime later this year, I wanted to do a video that will scratch that Mortal Kombat itch that I've been having. So I decided to do a Mortal Kombat hot takes video. While making the other videos, I would take some time to scroll through Twitter, and I found a post by Ravenous Lena, which basically made a thread of Mortal Kombat 1 hot takes, and it got a lot of attention. It showed up on my feed. I didn't add any input into it, but it was fun to just go down and look at other people's hot takes on it and give my solid opinion on it. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have a YouTube channel. I can make my opinions vocal, right? But also, it's their opinions too. So I just wanted to kind of go over it with you guys, and kind of maybe you guys can join the discussion in the comments below. They should have just did Injustice 3 instead. MK needed to rest a little longer, especially after MK11. You know, I kind of agree with this. I remember when when the hype was building up to NetherRealm's next game, how I genuinely did not know what it was going to be. I was like, I could go either or. I mean, their pattern for the past couple of years has been Mortal Kombat Injustice, Mortal Kombat Injustice. And after Mortal Kombat 11, I was very excited for Injustice 3. I mean, after the second game ended, I was excited to see where they were going to take that. It was pretty bittersweet, considering Batman kind of has to be in the game, and unfortunately Kevin Conroy is no longer with us, so that would have been a bit of a bummer. But, I mean, I would still be excited for it. They always, you know, these guys at NetherRealm always do something different with every game. But, yeah, I mean, but the second part kind of got me. It rests a little longer. There's actually one different of this that says something different, so I won't touch on that yet. But yeah, I do agree that Injustice 3 probably should have came next. I don't understand the official reason why Injustice didn't come next. I may have to do a bit more research on that. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments. People are still arguing that MK11 Sindel is more beautiful than MK1 Sindel. And to be honest, MK1 Sindel model was the biggest upgrade she ever had, and I am talking personality-wise too. Okay, as someone who loves Sindel as a character but can't play with her to save my life, I kind of agree with this. I enjoyed every model in MK11. MK11 is just graphically, it's just such a beautiful game. Sindel looked good there. I always thought her attires were a bit off. I mean, they were supposed to be like very regal, I get it, but she also had like a lot of Revenant skins that I just didn't really vibe with as much. Maybe that may be a hot take right there. But as far as design wise, I did think Sindel was beautiful. She kind of she also kind of resembled Kitana a bit more in that game, which a lot of fans pointed out Sindel's model looked more like Kitana, so that was really cool. But her MK1 design a lot of MK1 designs, especially Melina and Katana, look very, very good. I actually just got Sindel's Deception costume for MK1, and she looks so good. Like the kind of costume that will make you want to play as a character. So I wholeheartedly agree with this hot take. Sindel in MK1 looks better than she did in MK11. Not that she looked bad in MK11, but MK1 looks very, very good. Cameo system is the worst mechanic introduced in any NRS game ever. And this is a twofer. The cameo system is just a lazy rendition of tag team. So I decided to combine these two into kind of the same talking point, because they're both kind of trashing on the cameo system, and I can agree with these sentiments in a sense. I understand where they're coming from, but I definitely don't think that at all. I think statistically I may find a graphic and put it up on the screen, but I think Ed Boon said himself that tag team, despite its apparent popularity, was like the least played mode in MK9, and it just seems like a lot of resources to put into a mode that not everyone will be playing. I mean, I never owned MK9, so I don't know if tag team was available online and you can join up with like 3 random people or your friends, or that was even possible for the time it allowed. But it would be cool if you had like a tag team mode and you just joined up with 3 random people and you just have to like trust them to tag you in and then do some cool stuff with it. But I can totally understand them taking those resources and making it more single player focused, and also just trying to get more Mortal Kombat representation in there. You know, the cameos are just MK characters that didn't make the final cut, but they kind of did because they're in the game anyway. And as far as it being the worst mechanic, I mean they introduced crushing blows. I mean, you want to talk about terrible mechanics. I mean, you know, in hindsight, it's always 2020. I personally really do enjoy the cameos. Granted, there is a huge skill gap, which I think can kind of prompt players to get better. There was another hot take I saw that I don't think I'm mentioning in this video that said it's not fun for the casual player, and I can kind of agree with that because of the cameos. But yeah, I don't think it's the worst mechanic they've ever made. I hate the timeline story. They should have moved on from it, and I don't like Rain's downgrade from a demigod to a mage. This is one that I can agree. I agree with this one to the T. Rain is one of the coolest characters. If you guys don't know, Rain is like an homage to Prince. His color palette, he's the purple ninja. His name is Rain. His original timeline, he was the Prince of Edenia, a purple ninja named Rain, who's a prince. Come on now. I mean, the devil's in the details. I love that the timeline story was something new. I mean, I get a lot of forms of media are kind of delving into the multiverse, other timeline things. It's kind of what's in right now. Everyone's kind of get a bite of that multiverse stuff. But, you know, maybe I'm just a huge mark for the franchise, but when MK started doing it, I thought it was really, really cool. I mean, I definitely think there was a point where they should kind of get past it and like, all right, we've reset the timeline, now let's get to what's cool about this timeline. I don't care about the previous one or the future one. We'll get there when we get there. What about right now? I definitely do agree with that. But the past 2 games they've told it. I mean, I've been enjoying myself for it. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'm just a huge mark. And the thing about Rain, yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's no way you can just a cool demigod, the son of Argus, down to just like, oh, he practices water magic. Like, okay, I mean, I can definitely understand kind of making it. It's kind of like, is that like an excuse to like canonically nerf Rain? But like, he still has all kind of the same powers. You know what I mean? There was really no reason to do that unless they couldn't just. They kind of had to find a way for him to be in the game. I mean, he was DLC for MK11 and he's base roster now. So in the new timeline, just I guess Liu Kang's like, nah, Rain doesn't need to be a god. I mean, he kind of made most people not gods anymore, you know what I mean? You know, Shang Tsung's normal, Quan Chi is normal till they started meddling around themselves, you know what I mean? So, I kind of see it from a story point of view, but Rain being a demigod is definitely cooler than water magic. It's more than likely not a bad game. It's just utterly devoid of content. And by the way, when the person spelled content, they spelled it with a K, so that was really cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree with that now. I mean, I'm making this video, nearly a year after its release, so, more stuff has come out. Maybe not content-wise, I mean, I'm just thinking about past games, and we talk about, you know, the crypt, test your might, test your sight, and even going back further, puzzle combat, motor combat, chess combat. Not saying that any of those things will probably ever make a return, but just being able to do more things. Even like when I would play MKX offline, one of my favorite things to do would just be to play test your luck modifiers by myself and just see how much I can get through. Just all 7 modifiers, test your luck, you know, so many disadvantages, and it would just be like the funnest, craziest thing. And I mean, you know, and in fighting games, I mean, how much content can you really have? I say that as someone who's played Tekken 8, where they literally have an overwhelming amount of game modes for a fighting game. Is actually insane. So I guess there's no excuse on that part. But yeah, it's fun. It's just I wish it had more to bring me to it, because right now I'm in a cycle where, you know, a new character will be released. I'll drag them through invasions, level them up at the same time, play for a couple of hours, play for the next couple of days, do some online matches, and I'll leave it alone for a few weeks until the next character comes out, or until, you know, I get that itch to just play a fighting game. So yeah, I mean, not inherently a bad game, I just wish it had more to offer on the table as far as a Mortal Kombat game can give. Making some of the game's most iconic characters only cameos is a major disservice. I know it would have been way more work, but they should have fully committed and made every cameo character a fully playable character, and have a cameo version of each playable character. I do not agree with this, and because I love that the cameo roster is in like drastically different from the main roster. Don't get me wrong, with as many 3D era fighters as they brought back, Havoc, Ashra, I just needed a third one. Reiko. It would have been really cool to play as Darius. People have been asking about Serena. I've been wanting to play Serena since I saw her in MKX. Shujinko, you know, like all these, even other characters that aren't, like Sector and Cyrex have been in the past 4 Mortal Kombat games and haven't been playable really since MK9. I mean, we had Triborg and MKX, and they were in the story mode playable against in MK11, but you know, we just barely out of our reach. And like I said, I didn't get to play MK9 like that. And Sector and Cyrex are 2 of my favorite characters, especially in their human form. So the fact that I can't really play as them because they've been relegated to just like story and cameo kind of sucks, but I also love the fact that they're just in the game, period. I don't think every character should have been a cameo, and I don't think more work is the issue, because there have definitely been times where I see in NRS games where it's like, oh, this wasn't necessary, but I'm glad they put the work in. Where it's like, I think they, you know, and more cameos are on the way. You know what I mean? I can understand characters like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, 2 of the most iconic characters, being on that roster, and even make an exception for Kung Lao, kinda. But characters that would be weirdly playable, like Motaro, or Farah by herself, who's coming out in the future, maybe Mabato for his time, you know, there's only, I mean, I guess you can do some cool things with those rubber band hooks he has, or whatever those weapons are called. But yeah, I don't think vice versa. I think I like the cameo list to be unique. And in the future, they chose to add some kind of update that made them more like better to use, like make the cameo fighters fully playable, and now you have a separate, but their move list is kind of limited. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't make games, but yeah, cool take. Don't fully agree with it, but I understand where you're coming from. Should have left the whole Armageddon part for another game, nor hint at Shang Tsung's deception if you would have uncantonized the Shang Tsung ending of MK11. I guess having the Chronica Damashi manipulation stay in the story is fine, but the reveal may be next game. I can kind of agree with that. You know, once the, I'm so used to NetherRealm games having 12 chapters, and you guys can see this when I live streamed the game here on YouTube. Once I got to chapter 13, I started getting very worried, you know. I mean, it was cool because I love Mortal Kombat, it's like more Mortal Kombat stuff, but like in my face, like in my head, I was like, okay, like they're trying to pack a lot of stuff in here, you know, and I don't mind a bigger story. Make the story 20 hours long. I love Mortal Kombat, you know, maybe that's just me. But you know, it's chapter 14, 15, 16. I'm like, why are there more than 12 like, you know, save that for another game or the other expansion that you did, like with MK11. It just seems like a lot of content that could have been stretched out and fleshed out more. Not that I didn't enjoy MK1 story, I really did. But it almost reminded me of like a God of War, and I know that seems like kind of a, you know, out of left field to compare Mortal Kombat to God of War, but like, when I would play God of War, I kind of had that sentiment too, where I was like, this is a huge game, it's a great game, I love this game, but, you know, I think a lot of people were expecting it to be a trilogy instead of a duology, so, but they packed so much stuff into that game that at times the pacing felt a little off, and it's still a great game, still nominated, still one of my favorites, but, you know, same sentiment here, it kind of uncantonizes everything, and it would have been better if kind of left alone and made into another game. And so I do agree with this hot take. This game is so much more fun when cameos are only for extending combos and not to keep unsafe stuff safe. I agree with this wholeheartedly. As someone who is good bad at the game, it's definitely annoying when you play against players who, you know, do that, make stuff safe. It you know, and I guess that's kind of the other side of that sword, you know what I mean? You kind of have to pick who you're playing against. Like, a lot of cameos I feel are very situational, and sometimes you can pick a cameo to, you know, counter another cameo. Like, there are characters and cameos in the game that affect other cameos, or maybe even counter the way that you might play. Like, I know Peacemaker's in the game now, and, you know, he's, you know, Eagly can come down and attack them, or Sindel, who we mentioned earlier, has a move where she can, you know, command the opponent's cameo, so that can kind of come in handy. But if you don't play as Sindel or Peacemaker, you know what I mean, you're kind of in a rude awakening. But I think it kind of makes the game interesting. I think it just requires, you know, that's the thing with fighting games, is that they constantly require buffs and nerfs and to be looked at to see where the issue is, you know what I mean, because it could affect the casual player, it could definitely affect the tournament player if that slightest frame is off, or just making stuff unsafe, or there's too many advantages in a certain move, or because of your cameo and they allow you like that extra mobility. It's just way more fun when it's just for combo extenders. Characters like Sonya, characters like Serena. Cyrex, I'm looking at you. Combat packs should only be guest characters. Keep all Mortal Kombat characters to the main roster. This has to be top 3 hottest takes I've ever seen in my life. I do not agree with this. I understand the sentiment. It would be cool to just have just like 30, 40 MK characters in the base roster at a time and get Jigsaw in the game, get Michael Myers in the game, get John Wick in the game. Give me everyone who's never... Give me all the real-life actors, all the real-life comic book characters, DC heroes, Marvel heroes, Deadpool. Give me everyone in a Mortal Kombat game and just a single combat pack, and watch fans just lose their mind because we have all the Mortal Kombat characters, you know? It's like when Smash Ultimate said everyone is here, so now everyone that came after that was just genuinely a surprise, you know, and everything's up for grabs. Everyone who was here is here, so what's gonna happen, you know? I don't think we'll ever see another Armageddon situation where everyone who's ever been in Mortal Kombat is gonna be in the game. That would be crazy, never say never, but I think from what Ed Boon's been saying, there'll never be another Armageddon situation, especially with the technology now and games being a higher quality than they were 20 years ago. We'll never see that, but no, I kind of don't agree with this. I like having Mortal Kombat characters as DLC, especially since, you know, it gives them a chance to kind of... I also think it kind of resonates with the devs too, you know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, I mean, Sindel was DLC last game, now she's in the base roster this game. Rain was DLC last game, now she's in the base roster this game. Melina was DLC last game, now she's in the base roster this game. Shang Tsung was DLC last game, and he was the pre-order bonus for this game, you know what I mean? So, in MK marks like myself, I mean, we'll buy that stuff, especially when you start pulling out the MK bag of tricks. You show me a character like Kira, you show me a character like Cabal, you show me a character like Nightwolf. Again, I don't care, I love MK3, Cabal and Nightwolf are my boys. You show me a character like, you know, if Jackie comes back, if Farrah Tor comes back, because Farrah's going to be in the game, I'll buy it. I want Kotal Khan to come back, I want Jade, I want everyone here. If they're not in the game, Noob was literally in the last game, and if he was DLC for this game, I would still mark out crazy, because I like Noob and I like Mortal Kombat characters in a pack, so I like the healthy mix of both. the crypt was not all that, and is actually far more boring than invasions. I actually agree with this sentiment. I think people liked, just kind of wandering around in a gravesite and unlocking things. I think they enjoyed the grind, and then getting the coins, and then going to spend the coins. But I think you're doing the same thing either way. I once saw a take that said the invasions is just the crypt on steroids, and it kind of is. You fight really quick matches, and you unlock chests at the same time. I mean, you're still grinding, in the MKX, MK11 days, I will still need to go through hella towers and hella online matches to get a bunch of coins and go right back to the crypt, because the MK11 crypt was probably the most advanced crypt. Remember that? Remember having to perform 25 fatalities for on every character to unlock, a special set of gear just for them, or even go to the shrine and just to get that piece of gear or a palette swap that you wanted. You know what I mean? So, and looking back on it, I mean, you're still grinding. I think people are just more hooked on the nostalgia of the crypt, and I think, especially since Invasions as a whole, as a mode, has gotten way, way better. I've been playing MK1 since the beginning, and Invasions used to be so tedious. There was an ambush every 10 seconds. The fights felt way longer. There were some times where, things wouldn't even work right, like your consumables would act up, and it would just take way longer. Now, 5 seasons in, I'm just flying through, and they've made it now to where a lot of the nodes are optional, so you can really just go straight to the end and 20 nodes if you're consistent. I've been consistently beating Invasions in 2 days because of the stuff they're doing on it. So I mean, and I still do miss the crypt. It would have been a nice little addition. I don't know what they would have done, since Invasions is technically the way you unlock things now, but yeah, I do agree with this take. Cameo fighters are an extremely missed opportunity, and making them mandatory is criminal. I do agree that making cameos mandatory is criminal. It would have been cool to have a cameo-less mode. Just give them it's nothing to give us the option. It makes us wonder why that isn't in there day one. And it may be kind of a marketing thing, like a business thing. You kind of add that stuff in later. It's kind of like, Smash didn't do this, but Smash has, the spirits that assist you. But it would be weird if there wasn't an option to turn spirits off. Smash literally had everything from the beginning, and that's one thing people worry about. Are we always going to have to use spirits? And no one uses spirits, and I'm glad they have the option. I sometimes go through whole Mortal Kombat matches never touching my cameo button. I love them. I love that they're there, like I said earlier, but sometimes with some characters I just don't need it, and sometimes I just throw them out for a final hit or just to tease my opponent. But having the mode would be optional. Having the mode would be, yeah, of course it'll be optional. Having the mode would have been cool. I do agree with this take. They should have kept the 3-line banter rather than shorting it into 2 lines. This is something I mentioned in my upcoming MK1 video. I really do miss the 3 lines of banter. I don't know the reason why they shortened it down to 2, probably to make it more streamlined for the new gen consoles, because everything's fast and it's right in there. And I guess the trade-off there is that they made them unskippable. So now we have to hear the banter, we have to hear the lore, we have to hear the relationships, which I never skipped them anyway, and I know a lot of us didn't, because that's what made these games different, and I noticed other games started doing that too, making custom dialogue, and that was something that, since MKX, NRS kind of pioneered. That was one of the coolest things ever, that Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who are of course bitter rivals, now prove it when they say things to each other before the fight, specifically for them. And, a lot of us thought we were just going to get more. We're going to have whole lines of whole story arcs before the fight. It may go up to 4 the next game, and they shortened it down to 2. And at first it didn't bother me, but upon playing the game, especially since when the game first came out, you only heard them in online fights and one-on-one matches. You didn't hear them in towers, you didn't hear them in invasions, so they kind of felt pointless anyway. Now that's changed, obviously, but I just really missed the 3-line. I agree with this take wholeheartedly. They should have never changed rank from 1st to 5 to 1st to 3. 2 games is just not enough to get a full grasp of a match and adjust. I understand bad connection can be unbearable, but having more options of filtering out these bad connections should have been the only priority. Again, another base take. I agree with this one wholeheartedly. I don't play a lot of Combat League, I don't play a lot of ranked, but when I did in MK11, first to 5, you know, best 3 out of 5 definitely was the way to go. You know, sometimes those matches going tit for tat like that, it's really intense. And for tournament level players, for ranked players that do it, that only play ranked, you know, when they brought it down to 3, for me, like I said, I don't play ranked too much. It didn't really bother me, but it bothered me for like the community, because I knew it was like, oh, I don't know why this change was necessary. I think that's what said it, you know, 3 out of 5 was definitely the way to go. I don't know why you're trying to streamline online here. You know, first to 5 just made sense. So I agree that I can't speak on it too much because I don't play ranked too much. But I do agree with this, because that's one of the first questions I had when they changed it. Like, why are we going down the first to 3? That makes no sense. Yeah, I agree with this one. I would rather have had Kronika return as the main villain than Shang Tsung. Okay. No. No, just no. I mean, the fake out was perfect. The fake out was perfect. It looked like Kronika. It talked like Kronika. It was Kronika. But I think the deception kind of motif that they were going along with, of them being deceived and Shang Tsung believing it was Damashi and it actually being Shang Tsung disguised as Kronika, was really, really cool. I actually loved that twist a lot. And maybe I'm just stupid and didn't understand writing, but that was a really, really good twist, because that was some of the stuff they showed off in the early, you know, kind of footage before the game came out. And I was like, they're really showing us this? Kronika's back again? And some people were kind of indifferent about it. Some people kind of hated it. It's like, why is she back? We killed her. She's done. We maimed her. Get her out of here. So I'm kind of glad. It would have been interesting to see, though. You know, I was like, okay, I trust him. You know, do you? And it kind of step back and see what was going to happen. But I'm glad they didn't go that route. Shang Tsung's always been the most menacing of villains, and Titan Shang Tsung in this iteration was definitely a worthy foe. So I appreciate it not being Kronika. Cameos are 100,000% better than special move variations. I can kind of agree with this. When MKX introduced variations for every character, that was really, really cool. And then when they introduced custom variations where you can make your own, add your own moves to accommodate different playstyles, up to like 5 different variations, that was even cooler. Like, that was actually crazy. It makes me wish they'd bring back select your own skin and MK1, but I digress. That's for like another video. But I do agree with this. Cameos, like I said earlier, they're just cooler. Not only are they a novelty and throwbacks to, you know, as much Mortal Kombat representation as possible with all the characters, but like, they add so much, whether you want combo extensions, whether you want juggles, whether you want pressure, whether you want to, you know, zone, like, they're all there in the cameo set. Like, the cameos can literally make up for what your character lacks. Like Johnny Cage, who literally has no projectiles in this game, you know, you can pick a character like Serena, like Cyrax, like even Sonya, and you know, gain a projectile, you know. So I love that. I love that from the moment I saw it. From the moment it was showed off, I loved it. Cameo system is one of the best mechanics NRS has ever made. Yes. No, that would have been funny if that was it, though. No, I do agree. I mean, mirroring everything I said before, I mean, it really is. I mean, they try to do something different with every game, and I think, you know, thinking about it now, maybe, I don't know this for a fact, I don't work there, but maybe one of the reasons they were kind of devoid of, the game is pretty devoid of content, is a lot of the resources going into the cameo system. I don't remember another game really doing something like this. You know, it's still, especially in the early days of MK1, it really boggled my mind how, you know, I can pick any character and any cameo and just pair them and just test it out. And I love going online and seeing the combinations. You know, I love fighting against a Sub-Zero and a Rain, fighting against a Sindel and a Jax, fighting against a Melina and a Motaro, and then going to practice mode and seeing what I can do with them. Like, well, like what's the appeal here? I would have never thought of that. Melina, Motaro, what? You know, and it's one of the coolest things ever, man, honestly. And I say this one last on purpose. MK1 is the best NetherRealm Studios game to date. And we're being specific here. We're talking about specifically NetherRealm Studios era. I think MK vs. DC is included in that. MK9, MKX, MK11, MK 1, and you also said NRS game, so that includes Injustice 1 and Injustice 2. You want to talk about best game? I think Hardcore MKX fans might disagree with you, and Hardcore MK9 fans might agree with you even harder. I'm just going to say yes because it's their most recent game, and I hope their next game is better than all their previous games. And that's it for this hot take video. Again, everything you've heard were strictly opinions. I made this video because I love interacting with you guys in the comments. Let me know what you guys' take is, what you guys' own hot takes is. Maybe I'll do a part 2. Maybe we can make this into a series. The more hot takes, the better. I'll take them, I'll read them, I'll share my thoughts on it. Really great list, man. Here we have some good things, some bad things, some story things, some online things. What we learned here is that MK isn't bad, but it could be better. But it's also still pretty great, but it could be better. Yeah, I think that's what we learned today. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll say it again, leave your opinions down in the comments below. I read all the comments. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support these past couple weeks, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.